Hi guys, and welcome to this flipped learning video that looks at AQA's paper 1 question 3. Now this one focuses primarily on structure. So what this question looks like: how has the writer structured the text to interest you as a reader? This will be the standard way that this question is going to be written. This question is worth 8 marks in total. If you're grading for that grade 4, you're looking to get half marks, 4 marks. In terms of what this question and answering it would be best to do, you could write about what the writer focuses your attention on at the beginning of the text, also what is focused on at the end of the text, how and why the writer changes this focus as the source develops, and any other structural features that interest you. When it comes to this question and how to focus on the structural elements of the text, the following things would be good things to consider. Sequence. So what happens at the beginning, middle, and end of the text? Do you notice any changes in the setting, or the changes in the character, their personalities, learning anything new about them, or revealing things that will help their story or character progress? Finally, do you notice anything in terms of the tone? Does the story go from something light-hearted to something much darker, or vice versa? Do you notice a shift in the ideas or perspectives of the story? These could be themes or points of view. Do we go from a wide to a narrow space? Do we move to different places? Do we move from outside to inside? Or from an outside view of the world to what's going on inside a character's head and their internal thoughts? Some language features also can pass on into structural features, such as repetition, threads, patterns or motifs. The important thing when answering this question is also recognizing connections between different paragraphs throughout the texts. This could be a running theme that runs through all the paragraphs, and you notice this consistent connection, this coherent connection through all the paragraphs, or something that is unique to each paragraph. Both of these are acceptable ways of tackling the structural question. When it comes to using structural questions in the lesson, this will be a table you are most likely going to see. It's an easy way for you to look at a piece of text and break it up to beginning, middle and end. It allows you to analyse the text very quickly, looking at what roughly occurs in each section, beginning, middle and end, and anything you note in terms of the character, how they may change in each section, as well as the setting and the tone. Planning out your answer this way on paper initially will mean that when you go to your exam, your brain will be used to setting up this kind of planning by habit. So what kind of structural features are we looking for? As you can see on this slide, there is a wide range, but we will not be covering all of them in this video. What we will be focusing on are establishing, perspective, and exterior and interior. These are some of the easiest ones to notice when you first are coming into analysing structural relationships. So the first structural feature we're going to look at is establishing. This usually occurs at the beginning of the text, however, it can occur throughout as we as readers learn new things. For example, we may have to be introduced to a new character who's entering the scene, one we have not met before. Another example would be learning more about a character's abilities. Have we learned that they are a good fighter? Have we learned that they have knowledge of something that they previously were not sharing with us as readers? Finally, do we learn something about the setting or the spatial relationship between a character and another character? Are they close together? Are they far apart? We can also use establishing to learn about the characters in terms of their past history. This helps build a fuller picture for us as readers as to why one character would behave emotionally to a situation, whilst another character would behave in a different way to the same situation. Another thing to consider is perspective. There are three main forms of perspective that you will need to recognise. First person, which will appear often in the piece of text as I, in the use of the pronoun, tells us that the story is being told from the first person point of view, from the main character's point of view. Now, in some stories this does shift around, however it is not often. When it does occur, it can be viewed that we are looking in the third person. We are viewing the whole world of this story as an outsider. We have access to information that all the characters do not. We know what the characters might be thinking, whether good or bad. Finally, and often very rare, is second person perspective. In this regard, second person perspective is very rarely used because it involves the character being self-aware that they are in a story and talking directly to the reader. One modern example of second person perspective is a character like Deadpool, who is fully aware that he is in a movie and talks to the audience on a regular basis, whilst the characters around him are unaware of this fact. When we are analysing an entire story or even an extract of that story, the structure should still follow a very recognisable pattern, that of beginning, middle and end. Exposition, in which the character is first faced with a problem. The climax, the middle of the text. Has the problem grown and become more difficult, and is the character at a chance of either not completing the problem or having to face dire consequences as a result? Finally, the resolution, the end of the text. Is the problem solved? Has the character managed to solve it, or has the problem actually increased and become more difficult? Often in extracts, you will find that this pattern does occur, but leaves something of a cliffhanger for you to want to read on beyond the extract itself. Earlier, we mentioned the use of interior and exterior. We will look at this in the lesson. This is a way of ensuring that you are following these flipped learning lessons, and therefore you have a reason to engage with them more. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully this video has been informative for you. Do not forget any questions or queries that you have to come into lesson with them and speak to me directly.